Is Russia's embarrassing incursion from Ukrainian forces already at an end? But is the damage done? I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. It's May 24th, 2023. This is your daily Ukraine update. Let's get right into it. But first, of course, if you guys want to support what I do, you know that combatvetnews.com is the place. YouTube routinely demonetizes my content, and there are tons of combat videos that I just can't do breakdowns of on YouTube. But I've got if you want to become a member, and only 5% of the viewers here even visit combatvetnews.com, and even fewer choose to become members. But those that do, I appreciate you so much. Any one of these tiers is going to get you access to an exclusive room on the Discord and access to the members only content, right? Which right now is a lot of the videos coming out of the fight in Bachmann. But this Friday is actually, we're going to do a bunch of the videos of the Freedom of Russia Legion and the Russian Volunteer Corps operations in Belgorod. So if you want to be a part of that, a part of the community, then combatvetnews.com is the place. Okay, let's take a look at the situation here. First off, I want to point out in Bachmann, amid very little fanfare, it appears, in the last 24 hours, Russia has seized control of the last urban areas of the city. So Russia now controls 100% of Bachmann. They've also managed to effectively stabilize their lines, which, again, I maintain is probably a very important objective in Ukraine's current offensive efforts, which is to force Russia to commit its reserves in a place like Bachmann. Of course, next step needs to be preparing for their big counteroffensive push along another axis. So I find it sort of not bizarre, but that's what I would expect as the next logical step. But where things are also pretty interesting is near Voron. And as you guys can see, it's now listed as not contested. And as we've talked about, you can see the contested region stretches a considerable distance all the way, in some cases, to the outskirts of Voron, the town. And this is it looks like around probably 10 to 15 kilometers into Russian territory. What makes it interesting is, first off, we talked, this was always going to be a raid. Enter the enemy's territory, assert your ability, demonstrate your ability to move freely within it, and then withdraw before the enemy's war machine, so to speak, can deploy resources to counter you. That is the strategy, and it is is meant to deal political damage and, in a way, logistical damage, but really mostly political damage, by demonstrating the ineffectiveness of the government, and it forces the Russian government to deploy troops that would otherwise be going to the front lines, now are responsible for actually securing large portions of this border region. This is extremely thinly defended. You can see it's probably hundreds or even thousands of miles of border, and now that the risk of cross-border incursions is real, all of the border has to be defended on some level. So this is a drain on Russian resources, again, sort of serving, in a way, the same basic principles as the fight in Bachmann, which is to force Russia to commit its forces to missions other than the defensive effort or countering the counteroffensive. And when we look, we can see on the map that Russia really has scaled down its operations. Just 26 separate engagements across the front lines. You can see one near this Devorichna, one near Belohorivka, one little push in Bakhmut, seizing the last of the city, and then just, again, a smattering of attacks near Avdiivka and Marinka. And all this indicates that what you have is, again, Russian forces really probably trying to conduct spoiling attacks, small localized counterattacks to Ukrainian efforts, or just fix some Ukrainian forces in place. But it's important to note that the scale is just so incredibly low and really indicates that Russia has very, very few forces at its disposal that aren't allocated to defensive missions. When we look over at the UK Ministry of Intelligence or Intel brief, they bring up an interesting point that it appears that between January and May 2023, Russian military courts dealt with over 1,000 AWOL cases. But most of those AWOL cases received suspended sentences, which allows those soldiers to be redeployed to the special military operation. This indicates, of course, that there is a growing number of indiscipline and low morale within the ranks. Russia, as you guys probably know, really getting very desperate in terms of recruiting manpower. So the level of commitment and seriousness of that manpower is going to be low. You also, of course, have increasing levels of desperation, as we've heard in many of the leaked videos. Russian forces feel that there is no end in sight. There is no demobilization date. They'll simply be attrited forever, right? And in those circumstances, simple self-preservation tells you that you should probably start to try to get yourself back to Russia by any means necessary. Anyway, guys, that is really all I had for you. Thank you guys so much. And a special thank you, as always, to the lieutenant tier members of combatvetnews.com. You can see you are numerous, and I appreciate every one of you guys. Plus, a special shout out to the Colonel tier members. Again, your support means everything to me. Really enables me to continue to do this. Thank you so much. See you in the next one.